There's a quiet truth about human beings that we rarely name. We don't remember to stay in the past. We remember to stay connected to who we are. Every culture on earth has created some form of remembrance. A pause, a gesture, a story, a moment of stillness. The details differ, but the impulse is the same. Human beings remember because it steadies us. When we take a moment to remember, we're not trying to relive old pain or reopen old wounds. We're acknowledging that our lives didn't begin with us. We're part of a larger story, one that stretches behind us and will continue long after we're gone. And when we honor that truth, something inside us settles. Something inside us becomes more anchored. Remembrance is not nostalgia or sentimentality. It's not a longing to go backward. It's a way of saying, I know what shaped me. I know what I carry. When we know those things, we move through the world with more clarity and humility. We understand that our lives are built on foundations we didn't lay and strengthened by people we didn't always recognize at the time. Think about the people who shaped you. Family members, mentors, friends, neighbors, people who offered guidance or steadiness when you needed it most. When you remember them, you're not trying to recreate the past. You're honoring the imprint they left on your life. Their influence didn't disappear when they did. It lives in you, in your choices, in your values, and in your posture toward the world. And remembrance isn't only about people. It's also about moments, seasons, turning points, times when life shifted, when something ended, when something began. We remember the moments that shaped us because they help us understand the person we've become. There's a quiet courage in remembering. It takes strength to look back without getting stuck. It takes maturity to hold the past without letting it define your future. It takes steadiness to say, this shaped me, but it doesn't confine me. When we remember well, we're not clinging, we're honoring. And honoring is one of the most human things we do. Every family, every community, every culture has found its own way to honor the people who came before. Some gather around food and some gather around silence. Some gather around stories. But the purpose is always the same, to acknowledge that life is bigger than any one of us, and that we're held up by the people we may never have met and sacrifices we may never have seen. Remembrance is a form of gratitude. It's a way of saying, I didn't get here alone. It's a way of recognizing that our lives are supported by choices, efforts, and acts of care that came long before we arrived. And when we take even a moment to acknowledge that truth, something inside us softens. Something inside us opens. Something inside us becomes more grounded. And remembrance doesn't just connect us to the past, it shapes the way we move into the future. When we remember well, we carry ourselves differently. We speak with more care. We listen with more presence, and we move with more intention. We understand that our actions ripple outward, just like the actions of those who came before us rippled into our lives. When you remember the people who shaped you, you become more mindful of the way you shape others. When you remember the sacrifices that protected you, you become more aware of the ways you can protect others. When you remember the stories that gave you strength, you become more intentional about the stories you pass forward. Because remembrance doesn't require a holiday or a ceremony. It only requires a pause, a breath, a willingness to acknowledge the threads that connect your life to the lives that came before. So today, take a moment, not to dwell and not to ache, not to relive, but to honor. Honor the people who shaped you. Honor the moments that changed you. Honor the stories that steadied you. And honor the sacrifices that protected you. Honor the love that carried you. Because when you honor those things, you're not living in the past. You're living with depth. You're living with gratitude. You're living with clarity. You're living with strength. This is why we remember, not to look backward, but to walk forward with a steadier heart. So you take care, and now stay connected.